Been a furious uproar over the last few days because Mel Kiper dropped a mock draft saying the Saints are going to take Jaxson Dart at number 9. Well, there's an upside to drafting Jaxson Dart number 9 overall, and there's clearly a downside to do so. Let's talk about it now and break it down. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. So Mel Kiper Jr. kind of started a firestorm with this whole, and he gave, I can't disagree with some kind of solid reasoning in a way he was thinking that the Saints were going to take Jaxson Dart at number 9. And I have to emphasize what his thinking was if you love a quarterback, you have to take him in the first round because you can't run the risk of trading back or waiting to the second and somebody else grabbing him. Shades of we get Lattimore at 11 instead of Mahomes, maybe, as a object lesson. And he said, basically, Kelvin Moore has to love Jaxson Dart. And I think that's what his reasoning is based on. I don't know. He didn't say why he was coming to that conclusion that Kellen Moore is like, yes, Jaxson Dart is the guy. Jaxson Dart is the guy. But his reasoning is, well, if he is, you have to take him at 9. And it's not faulty logic. You saw some very similar things going on last year's draft. Atlanta loved Penix. They took him in a very similar boat we're in right now with a highly paid quarterback sitting there, supposedly the starter. Denver supposedly loved Bo Nix. They took him, and it kind of worked out well for him, and they bequeathed the starting job to him almost immediately. And they made the playoffs with him. So it's not outside the realm of possibility that all the analysts and draft experts and the rankings, and it was even brought up that sometimes when it comes to quarterback, you ignore the big board, the draft board, that you have to reach sometimes to go get your quarterback. It's been done a lot by teams in the past. I've seen comments in these conversations where people say, hey, teams do it all the time, and occasionally you get lucky, but leaving out the backside of that statement, which is, well, when you don't get lucky, what happens? And that's really what the pro and the con, the up and the down of the whole argument, it kind of sounds like it's starting to turn into, and Saint Nation is all evolving around. If you're going to go quarterback in the first round, I will put it to you this way. Somebody like Jaxson Dart is kind of where the modern NFL is. And I think is going to continue to keep trending in quarterbacks like him. StatMuse has basically a real easy breakdown of what the quarterback rushing was by position. And I think this is important because, you've got your usual suspects at the top. Everybody knows Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Hurts, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, even Anthony Richardson. But what you're looking at there is it's a lot of yardage coming from running from the quarterback position. And it continues to be a lot of yards as you scroll down the list. And you're starting to get this one interesting. Herbert was always considered to be, what was considered the prototypical NFL quarterback not that long ago, 4, 5, 6 years ago, the in the pocket, distribute the ball downfield. We're looking at, 7-step drops, a lot of pass pro, 30, 40 times a game on the offensive line. You're going through progressions, trying the best you can to throw the ball down the field and chunk plays as often as possible. That passing game has every year declined. We were talking about actually a little longer than that, 4, 5, 6 years ago, is when there was a lot of quarterbacks threatening and some occasionally doing 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns in a season. And you're not seeing anybody get close to that anymore. What you are seeing is the running game coming up. And I think what this list illustrates what you're seeing is quarterbacks are now part of the running game. Whether it's a dual threat, like the guys at the very top of this list, where they will scheme, design runs up for them. They will RPOs, especially in Lamar Jackson. The R a lot of times is also an option where not only is it a run pass option, but the run option is Lamar keep it or hand it off to a running back and puts a lot of stress on the defense. It used to be when you were talking about a defense having to defend 11, considering the quarterback, well, you were only talking about the passing game. Then it used to be, well, if you're defending 11, it's in the quarterback's running game. Now, when you're talking about defending 11, it's almost like 12 because more and more you're getting these quarterbacks where you have to defend them both in the passing game and the running game. And Jalen Hurts this year dropped that down to a T and showed everybody you put a Barkley next to him and dual threat that running out of the backfield between your quarterback and your running back with the receiver options they had, and a guy like Kellen Moore designed an offense where, look, every time we want to throw the ball, we're getting some really good looks wide open. So we have a very efficient passing quarterback that can just throw daggers at the defense when they start coming up out of that deep 2 and 3 and 4 deep looks, trying to prevent downfield passing and willing to give up short passes and runs, figuring we're going to rally to the ball and tackle people before they hurt us. That's kind of the modern NFL offense right now. And Kellen Moore last year, past week 3 after the Saints, and it's been mentioned that they started drastically changing that offense, and you saw the results all the way through winning the Super Bowl with it. Now, in the case of Jaxson Dart specifically, one thing that I like about him in this kind of current NFL climb as a quarterback, 6'2", 225 pounds. He's a bigger quarterback, which you're going to need if you're going to be going, whether it's dual threat or just, say, even a more of a Patrick Mahomes type where there's a lot less design runs, but a quarterback that is mobile enough that when he realizes things are going bad, they're looking to get out of there as fast as they can if they don't have a check down to get rid of it quick. So the mobile guys, and I think Dart fits that category, whether you want to use him that way or dual threat. He's got both in his repertoire. Pulled up his numbers here. He started in 2021. His first year was at USC, and things really didn't go well for him. Transferred to Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. And what I like about him is every single year he's a quarterback that started improving his numbers systematically. The other thing I like about him is this current kind of trend in the NFL where, and this was kind of put out there during around October, I believe it was Bleacher Report dropping an article saying that kind of the norm around a lot of the NFL teams when they're evaluating quarterbacks, they wanted guys with multi-years as a starter, 20-plus starts in their bag before they even really consider it. He's got that. Got to Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, a 3-year starter. He's got a lot of games under his belt. One of the knocks on him that I don't think it's a knock now, if we'd have had the current staff last year, I'd go, this is a knock. But one of the knocks on him is, well, is he just a product of Lane Kiffin's scheme? It's possible. But we just hired a head coach that supposedly is a guy that can scheme his offense around what he has available to him, especially at the quarterback position. That doesn't bother me a whole lot, whether it's a quarterback or anybody else, any other position on the offense, that if Kellen Moore is what he's advertised, he can work him in. Unlike last year where not so much. I think that offense required specific types of quarterbacks that had to do specific types of things to even have a shot at working. And I think you have that problem with Jaxson Dart. I think he's got a very good arm. That's kind of been showcased and talked about. He's been fairly accurate in that offense because of the way that offense operates. And it is run-heavy offense. It really is, despite the fact that he's got great passing numbers. Wasn't necessarily pass first, run second. It was kind of the other way around. His passing worked off the running, a lot like Jalen Hurts did. I am not saying he's Jalen Hurts, just saying comparable scheme-wise, very, very similar. To Mel Kiper's point, if Kellen Moore loves him, There's more than enough, despite where everybody is ranking him on their big boards, even if he is the third quarterback out there behind Sanders and Hart, whatever. Because I think a lot of that goes by the wayside. If your head coach, who is supposed a quarterback guy with a offensive coordinator, ex-quarterback coach, and Nussmeier, who's supposed to be the same thing, is two gurus saying, we love him. That's our guy. If they're pounding the table for that, that is the best argument. It's really the only argument, I think, regardless of who the quarterback is and what his name is, taking him at 9. You better have those guys in his corner 100%. And let's be honest, with their jobs and asses on the line, saying that's the guy. Because if you don't have that commitment behind a rookie quarterback, you're starting off on the wrong foot to begin with. For the most part, I think there's a lot of signals there that are saying you got the right staff that absolutely believes in him and is willing to 100% commit, go all in. That's likely your pick at 9. Kind of that simple. Now, the downside, and it's a big one at drafting Jaxson Dart at 9. Before we start this conversation, I guess we can all agree the most important position on the field is quarterback, correct? And the hardest position to learn how to play in the NFL at the NFL level is quarterback, correct? We're in agreement? Okay. Put a pin in that. We'll come back to it. Because in recent drafts for the Saints, we've had some reaches in the first round. And talking about taking Jaxson Dart at 9, it's going to be a reach because you think about, and we've been talking about him. In fact, the last video was still a way too early mock draft. The probability of a running back, a wide receiver, a couple of corners, a defensive edge player, a defensive interior player, all really, really good football players that pretty much people think, yes, they're good. They have potential to be great. All pro, better, stuff like that getting thrown around with their names. You're passing on all of that. None of that is really being associated with Jaxson Dart. Instead, he's the third best quarterback in the draft. So, and I'm not saying that he's not. He may be the best. I don't know. But the point being is, on our reaches, Marcus Davenport, we reached for just a kind of an athletic freak edge rusher who couldn't stay healthy. We reached on Peyton Turner, a defensive lineman who was supposed to be able to help us both inside and outside and bring a pass rush. Now, in Davenport's case, often injured, still is to this day. He can't play in NFL. I don't know if he's got combined 17 games in his career, much less be able to play 17 in a season. So it was a reach and a bust for us. And we've been kind of paying the price along our defensive line. If you think about how it's gotten older and not really better in the process, you missed on him. You missed on Turner, who all he was a kind of a backup guy that would come in and give you some snaps when other guys were getting looked at by our trainer, had been knocked out of the game due to injury, or just needed to take a blow and get some water on the sideline for a couple of snaps before they got back on the field. He didn't really do much with any of those snaps. We had a couple on the offensive side. You technically reached on Ruiz, who was a really good college center, and we drafted him, I believe it was 24th overall, going, he's going to play right guard for us. And it took a little time for that to develop. I mean, look, people were ready to label him a bust, and I guess technically he kind of was his first couple of years. I think he's playing out of position, and I don't know if anybody was bothering to teach him how to do it. You may have recovered with him last year. Trevor Penning, definitely a reach. An attitude that could run block is basically what he was. And you were projecting saying, well, hey, if we can teach him how to pass block, we got our left tackle of the future. And they threw him out there. And again, I don't know if anybody bothered to teach him how to do it. And I don't still know what you have with him, but what you got last year was finally something after, nothing pretty much previously in his career. Think about how bad those 4 picks has affected our roster, and partially to blame for the situation we're in now. Now, imagine that happened at the most important position on the field and the hardest to learn to play at the NFL level. That's my drawback. If your roster's in pretty good shape and you're going to make that reach because you love that guy, hey, doesn't work out, we'll try it out again later. But if your roster's in the shape ours is in, and you still have available really good players to grab at 9, but you're going to pass on that. You're almost passing on, I hate to say the sure thing because nothing's a sure thing, but surer thing. Now it's almost like a double miss because you don't have the quarterback you thought you're going to get and going to be able to use, and you gave up a chance to Adam McMillan or Genty or a Johnson or whomever at that spot. It's almost like you're losing twice with 1 pick when that happens. I'm in the boat. I mean, I made probably a longer, stronger case for why drafting him at 9 makes sense. But to me, I'm the guy that goes, I can't give up on one of those guys. Now, if the board follows where all the ones you really, really like in that group are going, and you're looking at going out of that 6, 7, 8, however many it is, top end guys, they've all been drafted, which would likely mean either none or only 1 quarterback was drafted in front of you. Then I get it. Maybe then it makes a little more sense to me. So, if it happens, I mean, I'm not gonna bang the walls and scream and holler. It's kind of one of those, if you do it, you're just going to have to hope for the best. But you're going to end up living with the consequences like we did for Davenport and Turner and Ruiz and Penning, a wide spectrum of consequences between the 4 of them. But that would be the 5th one since 2018 at a position that's just really hard to evaluate about no matter how good a player is in college and all the film on him and all the testing and all the athletic ability. I don't care what position he plays. There is just that we're not quite sure if it's going to translate to the NFL level until he actually gets into the NFL level and starts playing. Quarterbacks miss more than anybody. Again, because I think it's the most important position on the field, and it's the one that is the hardest to come in and master at the NFL level to be as good as you need to be. And I'll end it on this thought, tracking back to Frisco. Frisco did go through and build a very solid roster in Jimmy G in free agency. Then it was Trey Lance with a 1st-round pick, a top 10 pick, and still struggling to find that quarterback that was going to take him to the next level. And they kind of blundered into one on the 7th-round pick that their window was open. He got him to an NFC Championship game. Then he got him to a Super Bowl in consecutive years. Unfortunately, it looks like the rest of the roster, it doesn't look, it definitely is, has deteriorated. And instead of keep trying to roll it back, they've made the decision, well, we're going to start tinkering with it and reset it, start making trades and doing all the stuff they've been doing this offseason. Is Purdy a high-level quarterback, or was it because of that roster? And we're going to find out this season. So it's just always something to keep in mind also, that it can be done by building the roster first. And then, as they were saying, well, if you keep drafting them in the 1st round, you'll eventually get lucky. Well, if you're talking about getting lucky, maybe let's build the roster. And then when we get unlucky, it's not so painful to correct course and try to try to fix it. To leave you with this thought, the Jets tried that for quite a while with first-round picks, none of them panning out. And hell, I think that goes all the way back to Mark Sanchez. They tried it to the point where they tapped out, and we're going to stop doing it. With the heavy free agent route with Aaron Rodgers, that didn't work. Now they're trying the cheap free agent route with Justin Fields. So it's just not easy finding the quarterback. I understand and I allow for that, but it's hard for me to sign off on. Yeah, let's not take Ashton Genty to go ahead and take Jaxson Dart at 9. I just can't wrap my head around something like that. So I gave you both sides, and I'm not inclined to be on the let's get Dart at 9 bandwagon, but I'm not saying that it can't work either. It's just I'm a little skeptical, to be honest with you. Few things to talk about, and it kind of segues nicely into whether or not you're going to take Dart at 9 or not take Dart at 9, is the salary cap update, because as we're getting these free agent signings that we've made over the last 10 days coming in, and the numbers are coming in, they're able to start putting together, because there was a little while there, we were not sure how much cap space we had available. Catherine Terrell broke it yesterday on her own calculations, and I think from what I'm reading, she was pretty much right on par, which is right around 30 million under the cap, which is a lot of room, and an insane amount, a lot of room for the Saints. Because I'm curious the last time we were that far under the cap at this point in the off season. Speculation about why, but not really much going on in free agent market, and I think the possibility of exiting the relationship with Carr, whether it's after June 1st trade or after the season, having money available to make the trade this year or rolling over into next year to help with the dead money if we move on from him. That's been thrown out there. So I don't really know what the plan is, which is to leave you with the Mickey, what's the plan? I look at this roster right now, and we thought the plan was roll it back, go all in, and that's kind of how we jumped out of there with all the restructures, the re-signings, whether you agree with the player and the amount of money we gave him or not. That's just backing up the indication of that's what we were doing, and then it was like hitting the brakes. And I'm looking at the roster going, it's still not done yet. You have some space to do it with some players still available to go try to do it with. And more importantly, whether the plan is to roll it back with Carr and commit to him, or the plan is to draft Jaxson Dart at number 9. I keep looking at a glaring hole on the left side of the offensive line at guard, assuming we're keeping everybody else where they are outside of McCoy, and they're going to be able to do at least the job they did last year, but we're really going to need them to get better. But you got the hole at left guard. You still haven't gotten the veteran receiver. That there's still some floating out there. They're starting to run out of them. It's not that I don't like the kind of the backup moves you made with Yedem and Clapp and Velus Jones, who they're going to move to running back anyway, or bringing back Pettis. I'm neither hot, cold on any of them. I think they're good, solid moves, but I'm not relying on any of them. You want to roll in with the roster as is now, trying to win with Carr, or worse, trying to win with the rookie quarterback you're taking at 9. It makes zero sense on so many levels. I'd just like to know what's going on, some indication of we have a plan, because it's starting to me to feel like we maybe had a plan. It's not working out the way we thought. We're trying to reverse course. I have no idea, but it's not exactly building a lot of confidence in me right now. Sitting there looking at all the moves you made, both money-wise and then in the free agency to get to be able to be active in free agency, slamming on the brakes and going, did we go the long way to move on from Carr anyway when we just could have moved on from him basically before the league opened on March 12th? Jesus, I don't know. What's the plan, Mickey? Please, please, please give me some idea. Now, what we got for you today? First time here, go ahead. Please hit the like for me. The algorithm likes to like. If it's not the first time you're here, go ahead and hit a like for me anyway. But like, share, subscribe, all the lovely stuff that the YouTube algorithm likes, that helps me out. I'd appreciate that. Next week, I think we're going to be continuing more on the roster theme, especially anticipating. It looks like we're kind of done in the free agent hunt, at least for a while. But because I'm saying that on a Thursday afternoon to drop this video on Friday morning, we'll probably sign Tevin Jenkins and Keenan Allen in the next couple of hours. So I'd have to reshoot the video, but that's fine with me. I wouldn't mind doing it under that point. So that's pretty much looking like the agenda for next week. So until I see you then, I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.